After an extended break in the Endurocross series, we return to Ontario, California for round number 3. All the big hitters are in the house, everybody's healthy and locked and loaded, ready to go. They will battle a tough Endurocross track here in Ontario with some huge jumps mixed in. Mike Brown is 2 for 2 on the season, but the defending champion, Taddy Blazuzyak, is back to try to establish dominance and is ready to go big here in Ontario. It's the Ballet of Chaos. Anything can and will happen at Endurocross. Should be an epic night of battling. It's time to load the gate and get to it. This is the Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour. It's time to get this party started, known as Endurocross here at Citizens Bank Arena. It's time for the Geico Ontario Endurocross presented by Lucas Oil Products. I'm your host, Cameron Steele. Alongside of me, 11-time Baja 1000 champion, Johnny Campbell. Johnny, welcome to the Endurocross booth. I hope you're excited to get going with this.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to be here, Cameron.
And I'm fired up to have you alongside me. The fans are fired up to see if Mike Brown can continue his undefeated reign of terror here. There's a good look at him. But before we go to racing, let's get to the third member of our broadcast team, Terry Boyd.
It's been 2 months since the stars of the AMA Geico Endurocross Series have done battle for the coveted #1 plate. During the downtime, some of the riders went worldwide to compete at the X Games, while others headed home to sit on the couch and heal up to get ready for the championship chase. Let's get you updated on the series so far in 2013. As in past seasons, the series opener took place in Las Vegas, and the question on everybody's mind was who was going to pick up the gauntlet and challenge KTM's Wonder Boy, Taddy Blazuzyak. The answer would be found right under the same team tent. Mike Brown, number 3, Blazuzyak's factory KTM teammate, took the win with the perennial champion coming home in 2nd place. Honda's new recruit Colton Haker took the final podium position. Round 2 of the series, and it was another win for the veteran motocrosser from Tennessee, number 3, Mike Brown. He made it 2 for 2 in 2013 with a convincing victory. Kawasaki's Taylor Robert, number 33, showed why he is one of the new young guns of the sport, finishing in 2nd place, while Husqvarna's Corey Griffunder rounded out the top 3 finishers. A look at the standings after 2 rounds, and it's Mike Brown with a perfect score of 50 points on top. The acknowledged king of Endurocross, Taddy Blazuzyak, is 10 points behind his teammate, who's not feeling the pressure despite leading the series for the first time in his career.
Oh, there's no pressure, you know. I'm just doing my best. You know, I've done a lot of races in my lifetime, and you know, I've won championships before, so just kind of go out and take it race by race. And you know, it's oldest guy out there. I shouldn't have no pressure at 41.
Mike Brown says he's not feeling any pressure at all, but I think there's a little bit of pressure falling on Mike Brown. He was the 4th fastest qualifier here in Ontario this afternoon. The big question, will it be a new world order, or will the Taddy Blazuzyak status quo be reestablished tonight? One thing for sure, we'll all know a little bit better right after heat number 1.
Thank you, Terry. And if the results from qualifying are any indication, it looks like Mike Brown might be have a little trepidation, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, the top 3 guys, Taylor, Colton, and Taddy, they're right on top of each other for qualifying.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, really hundredths of a second. Let's get right to heat number 1, and it is stacked with big hitters. Taylor Robert, gold medal from the X Games in Munich. Now, he's got a racer's background, as does Mike Brown. I think on this track it might give them a bit of an advantage because it seems like there's some big jumps here.
Yeah, you know, it seems like they're actually clearing some of the obstacles at this round.
And there's a good look. Number 2, Cody Webb, close to an X Games gold medal in Brazil. And here is the entire starting lineup. Anybody else that you find interesting there in that group, Johnny?
Well, the top 3 are pretty solid, but you can't take anything away from Wally Palmer. He's always a crowd favorite.
Yeah, I have to agree. He is fast, furious, and, well, unpredictable at times. That's the number 27 in the middle of your screen. The 30-second board is up. About time to go racing here in Ontario. I'm excited to see what the boys bring here. Oh, good jump for Brown and Palmer. Oh, Palmer goes down. Mike Brown, Taylor Robert, and Cody Webb, the big hitters you talked about, Johnny, right to the front. Let's talk a little bit about what makes up this Endurocross track.
Well, as you can see, the matrix section, some guys are jumping over the top of it. Some guys have to go through it. Depends on the drive you get out of that corner.
And you can see here, doubling into the water. A couple of riders right out of the beginning, including Brown, doubling and then onto the side to avoid the water. Then something you don't see in motocross or supercross really is a flat corner that they have to negotiate.
Yeah, you know, and it's really slick. This dirt is like clay, and it gets blue grooved and really slippery.
So we're watching right here the three big hitters we talked about, Mike Brown, Taylor Robert, and Cody Webb. They're leading the group, and 3 riders will advance out of the heat races. There are 3 heat races tonight. 3 will advance out of each. And look at them working through this section. Oh, and Brownie going huge, Johnny. He doubled both sections of the water obstacle.
Yeah, I can't believe that they're jumping all the way over that thing. It's pretty tough.
Not only is it tough, but that braking zone after, I mean, so tight. I mean, basically he's downshifting in the air and having to get on the binders to make that turn.
Yeah, it's super technical. Let's take another look at that.
All right, well, I would have to agree. Lucas Oil replay. Look at this whole section. Jumps over the matrix, over the tire obstacles, and then, I mean, look at how much braking he has to do.
Yeah, if he blows that corner, he's going right into the other lane, the oncoming lane in the rocks.
And if you come up short, you're hitting that log. And here's a good look at the battle for 4th place. 1 spot out of contention.
Oh.
Jamie Lanza, and that's Ryan Sandoval, one of the young guns of the sport. He's been cutting his teeth, came up from the amateur ranks a couple years ago. As we get a good look at, well, I like to call him the Canadian Beast, even though there's a BMXer with that same nickname already. Bobby Prochnow. He's one of the bigger guys in the sport, but he rides with authority, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, those guys coming from the Great White North, they're really techy. They got some tricky terrain up there, and so look for good things from Bobby.
As we take another look, this is Ryan Sandoval. And going through that chopped wood, Johnny, I think that's the biggest chopped wood section I've seen in a long time here at Endurocross.
Yeah, it seems to be the longest section of chopped wood we've seen. It's really tricky because you never know what's going to get kicked up and cause you to go offline.
That's a good point, Johnny. Those fire logs can get wedged under the bike. And here's a good look at Cody Webb, 3rd place aboard the Beta. You see him landing on the side of the water obstacle where Mike Brown's clearing the entire thing. Here's a white flag for the FMF KTM of Mike Brown, former 125 national champion in motocross, but he's got his hands full with off-road racing hero Taylor Robert. I mean, this is a battle right to the finish.
Yeah, he's right on top of him right now. They just doubled the matrix over the tires. Brown couldn't jump that water that time because there was a lapper.
And he also was short on the jump before, but I was wondering if he was going to try to throw it down anyway, but he goes with the safety aspect. And, you know, oh, look at this jump, and Robert risking it all. And as you said, the chopped wood making the difference and taking Taylor Robert off center. He's able to hold on for 2nd place, but that was a huge push by Taylor from Arizona. And 3rd place will be Cody Webb, wrapping up the podium. So a solid performance for all 3 riders, but really Brown and Robert took it to those guys.
Yeah, they've done a really good job in this heat. You know, the track's starting to change already. You can see the lines developing. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out.
Absolutely. When we get to the main event and put all of the fast riders together, that's later on. But right now, here's the 3 riders that advanced. Mike Brown, Taylor Robert, Cody Webb. Unfortunately for Sandoval and Lanza, they're headed into the last chance qualifier. Right now, we're headed down to the podium to hear from Terry Boyd and our winner.
Mike Brown, it looks like you're picking up right where we started the season off. Same kind of roll. Although Taylor Robert was following your lines right to the final wood chip pile. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it is. You know, this track's fast. At times in practice we're close, and it's going to be a good race tonight. I think, you know, everybody gets together out there. It's going to probably be the best battle, I think, of Endurocross series we've ever had. That's the racing's close, especially in Taddy jumping everything. And like I said, it's good. The track's good for racing, and it's going to be a tough one.
If I was going to pull something out of that interview, it'd be Taddy jumping everything. He comes from a trials background. Brownie coming from a racing background. As we get set for Heat 2, we saw Max Gersten. How about this guy? JCR Honda, Johnny Campbell Racing, Colton Hager, that's your guy.
Yeah, Colton's been on fire lately, been training a lot. We've been setting the bike up. He is a hyper-talented rider, and he has a strong desire to win.
Here's the number 7, Kyle Redmond. He was 2nd in 2010 at the Indy round aboard that FMF KTM. We've spent some time riding with him in Baja. Very impressed by his skills all the way around. And it's time to disco here. Let's take a look at our starting lineup. Haker, Redmond, Gersten, Corey Graffunder, one of the favorites, Ricky Dietrich, a former champion in this series, Phil Smaji, who you might remember from America's Got Talent. He is from a trials bike background as well. So a lot of big names here in heat number 2. Remember, 3 will transfer. Johnny, the start is important.
Yeah, it's very important. You got to be very quick on your reflexes and try to keep the bike flat and low. And as you can see, it looks like Colton got in there for a hole shot.
Which you don't mind, of course. So it looks like Haker and Redmond, first 2 bikes out. There's the number 10, the number 7, and then the 324. That's Gary Sutherland from Bakersfield, California. He is one of the big hitters here in the Endurocross series. We saw Mike Brown earlier jump over the entire water obstacle. None of these riders elected to do that early on. But let's talk a little bit about Colton, because he seems to have gone through a transformation. We've talked about on the TV shows, we've seen it at the X Games. He's kind of reeled himself in a little bit. He's still super fast, but not as prone to the big mistakes trying to go big.
Yeah, we've been working a lot with Colton mentally and on the bike, and so I think with the machine he's riding, with the big 450, it's kind of toned him down a little bit, and a little bit of coaching, and he's doing a really good job this year.
Okay, you brought it up, the 450. Most of the guys riding smaller bikes. Why the big 450 for Colton?
Well, you know, we wanted to look for some sort of advantage coming into this series, and with the tracks getting more open and more motocross-like, the 450 seemed to be the best machine for the job.
There's a good look at the Rockstar Energy Drink, Lucas Oil sponsored. Colton Haker, Gary Sutherland getting in the mix here. Of course, Gary, he's a battler. He's been making a lot of main events. He's riding the 324 in memory of his friend who passed away, friend and mechanic. So a lot of honor there. And I think just a really solid, strong, physically fit, imposing looking rider. And he has great skills on top of the bike. But for more on Colton, let's get it down to Terry once again.
Colton Haker feeling the benefits of having the full factory Honda support. He has full factory front forks, and what a difference they made in being able to suck up some of these really tough obstacles. He had to switch from air back to spring, and that was about a 2-pound difference.
Yeah, it was a strategic plan that we made. We wanted to get the best performance, the best quality of ride, even though we sacrificed a little weight. Seems to be working in his benefit.
Absolutely. Here's a good look at Corey Graffunder. Now he's trying to earn that transfer position, and Graffunder has been a guy that's been on the box. He's been a major player. Sutherland's been in the main events, but Graffunder has been a more solid rider. But I'm going to say this about Sutherland. He's a bit of a brawler. He's not going to let anybody get by easily. And oh, look at this. Colton Haker taking a little bit of a taste of the dirt there.
Yeah, that's a tricky section. You know, he tucked the front end in that sand, and we saw the guys jumping that double earlier, and it's going to get more tricky as the course gets more torn up.
And he's got the skis out, the chopped wood. He's got a battle on his hands if he's not careful here. Kyle Redmond's going to make him, keep him honest as the white flag comes out. We're going to watch for the technical moves of Endurocross, because that's when the wheels seem to come off for people, is when it gets tricky. It's not necessarily in the fast sections, it's the tricky sections.
Yeah, definitely the technicality and the course conditions, and you can see Redmond coming up on him.
And Redmond doubled over that entire matrix section where Colton rode through it. And of course, Colton on the 4-stroke and Redmond here on the 2-stroke machine. You can see a little smoke off the 2-smoke. And oh, Max Gersten having a problem. Another rider down.
Looks like Ricky Dietrich fell down on the wood.
And so it doesn't catch up Haker, but it looked like it could have for a moment there. And the checkers are out for your guy, Colton Haker, winning the heat race, making the main event. And he'll be followed by Redmond and Sutherland, which means Corey Graffunder on the Troy Lee Designs Husqvarna. He will go to the last chance qualifier. Here is the lineup. As we talked about, top 3 making it through. Everybody else, well, they got to go to the LCQ where they got to get it done, or they're heading to the stands.
Colton Haker looks like a new guy out there. Very few mistakes, if any.
Yeah, I just had one fall out there, but pretty much kept it together. Looking forward to the main and putting together solid 12 laps. That was 6, so double that, and hopefully I'll be on top.
Well, we're going to find out when Haker meets Brown, meets the winner of heat number 3, which is coming up when we come back to Ontario. Yee! Welcome back to Ontario, California for what I think is the best form of motorcycle racing on the planet. Endurocross. This is the Geico Endurocross presented by Lucas Oil Products. Cameron Steele and Johnny Campbell bringing you all the action along with Terry Boyd. And right now it's time for heat number 3. And I'm excited to see the hitters here inside this group. Johnny, we take a look at this. I mean, we're talking vet class guys too. They're a little bit older, but very experienced. Jeff Aaron, a 10-time national trials champion. And then really one of my favorites in the sport, and I know a guy you know a lot about, Destry Abbott, coming to play.
Yeah, Destry and I have been, ass areas on the bikes and raced a lot in the desert, Nevada and Baja, and he's a heavy hitter, He's got the experience and the drive to keep going.
And the only rider here tonight that's been struck by lightning before, but we'll see if that's plus or a minus, as you see his son standing behind him. And then the perennial favorite, Addy Lazuziak. This is one bad dude in Endurocross, and we found out more about him and what's been going on before the race.
Taddy, here we are back here stateside. Couple of things. People are starting to say, Taddy, where's Taddy? What's your take on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's been a couple of years that I'm winning, and I'm still doing pretty much the same. Last year been it's been a hard year for me, with all the injuries, and this year, coming back from the shoulder injury, and then picking up another one in Barcelona that set me back for another month. So, but still, yeah, I think I'm doing good right now. We made a couple changes on the bike, and I'm happy with it. I won the last race in LA. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good, and I'll try to give it all I have, and we'll see where we're going to end up.
Taddy, you've made 2 big changes. One, you've gone back to the 250, and 2, you've made the commitment to stay here in the United States. How do both of those affect you?
Well, yeah, the first thing with the bike, for sure, we changed the bike. We made, I needed to step back first, like to build my speed back, and I think we're back on it. When it comes, to staying here, I'm still going to be going back and forth a little bit, but I'm going to be around here longer than I was before. Just to do some testing and get some work done. But like I said, I feel good, and try to go for that whole shot, and we'll take it from there.
The traveling, a big thing to key on there. Taddy, originally from Poland, has been living in Spain, also living in the United States. So he is a busy man when it comes to traveling. There he is with the number 1 plate, Justin Soule, who took some time off from the sport, but is a huge hitter here. Definitely someone to reckon with. Aaron Abbott, Brian Roper, Jacob Argerbright, very solid in hard enduro and Endurocross as well. And, well, the 30-second board is up. It's time to throw some elbows in turn number 1. And we talked about this course being tricky. I think the chopped wood and the access to it is definitely a big player here. Let's see who gets the hole shot. The onboard shot for Ty Tremaine doesn't quite go the way he hoped it would. And also Destry Abbott having problems, the number 8 Monster Energy Kawasaki. As we watch him go around out of the stadium. And Johnny, I think no surprise to anybody. And whoa, there's that big double jump again.
Yeah, that's that double that's going to be maybe key to winning this race tonight once we come to the main. But it is very technical and very risky.
A good shot there. In front of Ty is Jacob Argerbright aboard the number 911 or 911. Of course, when I first started announcing Endurocross, his mom was right on me, was telling me about it. Her son, very proud mom, very cool family. And it's a lot of fun here at Endurocross. As we go for a ride around, you can see the water being spread around the track from riders landing in that. And here's that section. Lazuziak jumps the matrix, jumps both tire sections, and oh! That's not good for the motorcycle or the body, but he seems to handle it quite well.
Yeah, that's part of the risk of that jump. If you come up short, it could be hard on the rear wheel, hard on the chain and axles. And
that's a good point. Blowing the back wheel apart, that could be a huge issue.
And that's part of Endurocross. You have these obstacles that are not like Supercross. It's more off-road, like stuff you're going to see in the outdoors, but extreme pressures going on these bikes.
Ty battling with Destry Abbott, and I wasn't kidding when I said he's been struck by lightning before. Actually, while he's out riding with his son, struck by lightning and had to get ridden back in by his son because Destry couldn't see for a short amount of time after it. You can see how tough this track is, and let's take another look. Taddy clipping this thing. I mean, this is dangerous.
Oh yeah, this could have been over the bars or into the other side of the track. Could have been really bad.
Absolutely. So Taddy on the gas, leading this race. Oh, 1 foot off, but Terry's got more on Taddy.
Guys, there's been a lot of fan chatter about Tadej Blasusiak, and does he still have it? Some of that you can chalk up to old injuries. Some of it is maybe a little bit of lack of confidence. It's tough to come back from all those injuries. One thing for sure, he's gone back to where it all started. He's back on a 250 tonight.
Good point, Terry, as we take a look at Jeff Aaron. We'll see if Tadej can get it done. He's been keeping those injuries under cover for the most part. There's your top 5. We'll see how it works out when we return. We're back battling out heat number 3 here at the Enduro Cross in Ontario, California. This is 3rd place, Justin Soule. He is in qualifying position. You can see that chopped wood is being drug around the track as well as the water is.
Yeah, that stuff's getting kicked everywhere, and the water is going to be a big obstacle tonight, because once the water gets splashed, those guys got to go through those rocks, and it is slippery.
Absolutely. Cat-like reflexes, the man that's won 5 Erzberg rodeos, the tough, hard enduro overseas, and he is heralded by many to be the best in the sport. I have to concur as he continues his reign. He hasn't won this year yet in the series, but he has won 2 X Games, and now he just won this heat race. Jeff Aaron, 10-time national trials champion, looks like he's going to grab that 2nd position.
Yeah, Jeff is such a master tactician here and such a skilled rider with his trials abilities.
Absolutely. So the Red Bull KTM takes that #1 spot, and he's going to get the gear off. We're going to take a look at those results. Remember, 3 advance, we talked about it. Everybody else going to 2 LCQs, where 2 will advance from each one. Jacob Argerbright and Brian Roper just missing this time around. Right now, let's get it down to the podium and Terry.
Tadej Blasusiak, just like old times, went right back to where you started on the 250, and it looks like mega confidence is back as well.
Oh yeah, you know, I felt pretty confident all day today, and yeah, you know, first thing off the gate, you know, the bike pulled me so good off the gate, you know, took that whole shot. I went even too wide, but still, you know, still took it, still went for it. Yeah, the bike working really good, you know, and suspension works good, the motor works good, and I feel confident. So yeah, we're there, so I'm already looking forward to it.
The Polish Nightmare right back where he's used to being, on the #1 spot. We'll see if he can make it happen tonight here in Ontario. When we return, the LCQs. It's time to do work to make the main event. We're back at the Citizens Business Bank Arena. This is the Ontario Geico Enduro Cross presented by Lucas Oil Products. Our field is actually now set for the main event. We're going to take a look at the LCQs in just a moment, but right now, Johnny, we have the hot laps going down. This is a very cool part of the night for the fans.
Yeah, with Taylor and Tadej so close in the heat races, and this is awesome because it's like the gladiators coming out to meet the crowd before the main event.
There's a new twist to Endurocross in 2013 for the rest of the year. You look over my shoulder, the best riders in the world are lining up to do a hot lap. This will determine their gate pick for the main event.
And we take a look at Cody Webb, the #2 beta machine from Stillwell Performance. And he is doing his hot lap, but before we got to the hot laps, we had last chance qualifiers, and now would be a fitting time to take a look back and see who transferred. 2 5-lap LCQs, only 2 riders will advance. Johnny, that sounds pretty cutthroat.
Yeah, it's really tight. I mean, you get to the LCQ, you better have a good start, and you better get out front and not make a mistake, because there isn't much time.
In LCQ #1, it was the 118 and Corey Gerfunder, followed by Ryan Sandoval. Those were the top 2 transfer spots available. Destry Abbott didn't want to be counted out as he tried to do work on Bobby Prochnow. They would have contact, and Destry would have to leave the track, but as long as you come back in without advantage, it's A-OK with the officials. That battle would heat up, finding Destry on the ground. As we take another look, Johnny, what happened?
Yeah, it looks like Destry got in there hot, and the ground slippery, locked up the front brake, and slid right into him.
Looked like Destry was going old-fashioned supercross there and was going to throw some elbows, but it was Corey Gerfunder placing himself in the main event, and Bobby Prochnow would move into that 2nd and final qualifying position. Unfortunately, Destry Abbott, Brian Roper, Ryan Sandoval, and the rest of the crew would have to watch from the stands. In LCQ #2, Well, there's more heavy hitters in the mix. As we watched the start, it was the number 114, Ty Tremaine, who tried to control the situation but went too far to the outside. That left it wide open for Jamie Lanza aboard the number 125, which is a 125cc bike. And, well, he would go down to the chopped wood and would hand over the lead to Max Gersten.
Let's take another look at that. That chopped wood has been tricky all night. You see Lanza was being a little too aggressive going into that section.
The number 15 from Arizona, Max Gersten, would lead the field around. He is one of those young up-and-coming riders. Been able to watch him at Last Dog Standing and other events, but Jamie Lanza wasn't about to give up the qualifying position and then mix into the battle. Wild Wally Palmer on the 27. In the end, it would be Max Gersten taking that qualifying position, followed by the rider from New Jersey, always willing to put on a show, the 27 of Wally Palmer. Jamie Lanza, former champion Ricky Dietrich, and young big hitter Jacob Argerbright would all miss the main event. Speaking of the main event, we've had some chaos on our way to that very final. Of course, going up against the entire field, but we need to highlight, of course, defending Endurocross champion Tadej Blazusiak from Poland, who won his heat race tonight. Also winning his heat race tonight, Mike Brown, who's 2 for 2 on the Endurocross season this year. Johnny, you got a favorite when we take a look at all these riders? Well, easy for you to say Colton Haker.
Yeah, I think Haker's on it. You know, he's been working hard, and obviously we got the speed, the bike set up. We did change the suspension, and I think he's got the gate pick, and hopefully he'll win.
All right, let's take a look at our lineup for the main event. We've talked about most all of them here on this first page. I think lots of big hitters. Pretty much anybody here can win. I think Jeff Aaron is having a little bit of a tougher time here tonight because it's such a fast course with big jumps. Aaron's more of a technical rider aboard the number 4, but you can still never count him out. But I'm looking forward to a fast-paced, big jumping main event here, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, these jumps and the speed of this course it seems pretty fast, and we'll see what happens here.
And we're racing main event style here in Ontario, and Colton Haker got pushed in just a little bit there, but still had a great start. He doesn't control the first corner. It's going to be Mike Brown who handles that, and look at him going into this section. Will he set the tone? No. He doesn't get that big jump in, the big gap. Everybody doubles into the water, and you know, do you think Brown will risk that big double, Johnny, if he's leading the pack?
I think he'll do it if he's set up for it. If you get the right jump in the section before, I think he can do it, but it is getting wetter out there and more slick, more risky to pull that off.
All right, Tadej Blazusiak talking Colton Haker. Now, Haker has 1 win in the series. Brown has a few. Tadej Blazusiak has been the one collecting all the hardware over the years. Again, 4-time Endurocross champion, and Colton was so close to the Barcelona X Games to a win. Mike Brown just getting him because Brown had a problem right at the end, and Haker had the opportunity, but Brown was able to hold on. But Colton has, and Colton stalls the bike. I was just gonna say, he's been establishing himself as one of those primary hitters. And Johnny, I mean, it just stalls randomly.
Yeah, it's, you know, you come out of that water, and sometimes the water splashes on the motor and shocks it, and sometimes that happens.
Well, Colton has to kick the bike to get started. He moves back a couple positions. Now locked in a battle with the number 33, that's Taylor Robert. And we also saw Gary Sutherland in the mix right there on the 324 machine. So Colton gets by him. We'll see if Webb and Robert can also get by. As we watch this track, this corner really has deteriorated. You know, the sand here has come up with a couple big berms. It's slippery underneath. Now you got to be careful racing there, and then again in that flat corner where we saw Destry Abbott go down earlier.
Yeah, you know, the water is being drug all over the course from that. And as you can see, Colton went down just after the wood chop. He's going to have to regroup again and try to get his focus on.
Now earlier in the night, I was saying that Colton has been gathering himself up, not making as many mistakes. So now we've seen a couple mistakes here. I'm wondering if one leads to the other because he's pushing so hard. And here's a look at Taylor Robert taking a stop in the rocks, as they like to say. Now, it looks easy as they race quickly around this track, but there's nothing easy about any of these obstacles. As we look at the battle between Sutherland and Cody Webb.
Yeah, you know, there's nothing easy here, and these guys' heart rates are going through the roof right now. And so there's little margin for error, and when there's a mistake made, it's really hard to regroup and get your focus back as quick as the obstacles come and the race goes on.
And they talk about it in Supercross and Motocross, the time the riders really get time to breathe or think or relax is when they're in the air. And at Endurocross, it's one obstacle after another. Now, we have a few more jumps than we've seen in years past, which will give the riders that little bit of breathing room. But right now, there's not much breathing room between these two KTM riders. Mike Brown aboard the number 3, being chased and dogged by Tadej Blazusiak, his teammate. But Blazusiak, always the perennial favorite. We've talked about it time and time again, but Brown has had his number so far this season with 2 wins starting out the year.
Yeah, and you know, you could, as you see the race unfold here, it's really hard not to make a mistake with the pace that they're pushing. You can see them, they doubled over the tires there, but they are not jumping that water double.
And I was wondering, with Brown not jumping over both ends of that water obstacle, I wondered if Tadej would risk it and try to make the time, but he ends up not trying it. So he's going to stay in second place. Cody Webb from California, Northern California, doing work. And here's a battle for the lead, a lapper. It's actually Jeff Aaron in the mix. He may be unaware of what's happening behind him. And here comes Tadej Blazusiak. He made the pass on Brown and on, wow, and none of it works out. You can see how tough this track is, and I think that plays right into what you're talking about, the moisture being drug around. He has no traction there.
Yeah, you know, the water's gotten kicked up on those rocks, and it's been really slippery. And then you got lappers in between to make even a bigger obstacle. You can see the ruts in this track, and the logs getting all wet. They're going sideways, and it's very difficult to control the bike.
So, lap 7 right now of 12. Mike Brown trying to find a way to reel Tadej Blazusiak back in. And I actually saw Mike Brown have a little bit of a hiccup going into the big tire obstacle, which gave Tadej a little bit more breathing room. As we go back, this is Colton Haker, also from California. He's running inside the top 5 right now, but he's already had a stall and a crash after that chopped wood. And, you know, it looks like he's reeled himself back in, smarter, more collected Colton Haker right now. And he and Taylor Robert getting past Gary Sutherland right there, so making up a couple spots or pushing Sutherland back 2 spots, and he just got jammed up in those rocks as well.
Yeah, you know, I think at this point, Colton is trying to maintain, collect himself, not make any more mistakes, and try to salvage the best place he can.
Max Gersten going to make room here as this battle for 4th position moves on. Now, Haker and Roberts, 2 totally different riders, Johnny. I mean, different backgrounds.
Yeah, you know, Taylor comes from the desert community in Arizona of Scottsdale, works racer, kind of motocross background. He's actually kind of evolved himself into quite an off-road racer, ISD gold medalist, and is also a gold medalist in X Games.
We'll find out if Robert can catch Haker and if Blazusiak can win this thing when we return to Ontario. Welcome back to Ontario. The main event is getting close to conclusion. The #1 Red Bull KTM of Tadej Blazusiak is holding down that #1 position. In second, the FMF KTM of Mike Brown. Now, the backgrounds of these 2 riders, Mike Brown, the bad man of motorcycle or motocross and supercross racing. You know, he has this huge background in racing dirt bikes. Tadej Blazusiak comes from a trials background, transferred over to hard enduro, and has trained himself in this endurocross form of racing and has been basically unstoppable for years. Suddenly, Mike Brown has 2 wins on the season out of 2 races, undefeated in the Endurocross Series. Yes, they've gone back and forth in the X Games competitions, but we have a certified battle of 2 totally different backgrounds on our hands right now here in Ontario.
Yeah, you know, despite the backgrounds, you know, each of them are very impressive, and it shows that they work very hard. They're out front, they're leading the races.
Quick look there at the number 2 of Cody Webb. He was a factor in Brazil where he nearly won the X Games in Foz do Iguaçu. And right now, I'm watching this battle, and I'm a little bit surprised no one's risking that jump over the water obstacle to make time, especially Brownie, who we saw really looking very comfortable on it during the earlier rounds.
Well, it's been very difficult, a lot of lappers involved, and so I think they've gotten in the way of being able to get the drive to jump that. And the white flag comes out this lap, Cameron.
Last lap of racing, Tadej Blazusiak leading, actually commanding lead, but in Endurocross, you never know. We call it the ballet of chaos for a reason. It's like walking a tightrope on your 225-pound dirt bike. As he doubles into that water pit.
And gets splashed.
Yeah, gets splashed by a lapper, as you're talking about. He's got the skis out going through the big tire obstacle, and through the flat corner, he flat tracks it, looking solid. And jumping into the chuck wood. We saw him with the problem a lap ago there, and he's able to hold it, but look how much that wood's been drug around.
Yeah, that stuff's been kicked everywhere, and it makes it really challenging getting out of that. Taddy comes through the finish line first with Brown in second.
So Tadej Blazusiak reestablishing himself after Brown winning 2 rounds, the first 2 rounds, I should say, on the series. Now Blazusiak goes back to that familiar position. Cody Webb is going to be third, and here's a good look at Taylor Robert. I believe he will be fourth. He has to look at the scoreboard too because there's so much chaos going on. I think it's really hard for the riders to figure out where they are if they're not the first or second bike.
There is so much passing going on out there with lappies and guys going down, so it's very challenging to know where you're at on the course.
Absolutely. Well, Tadej Blazusiak knows where he was at in the #1 spot. He's stoked to be back on top. Takes down Mike Brown, Cody Webb, Taylor Robert, and Colton Haker is able to put it back together and finish in the top 5. There's a look at the rest of the field. How about a look at some celebration, #1 style? How much bike skill does this guy have? Oodles. When we return, we'll talk to our top 3 from the podium and hear what Tadej Blazusiak has to say about getting back on top. Series champion Tadej Blazusiak has just won the Ontario round of the Geico Endurocross presented by Lucas Oil Products. He's a stoked man, and he's getting set to head up to the podium. Someone who may not be totally stoked with 3rd place is coming back from a foot injury not long ago, but he is on the podium and should be happy.
Cody Webb coming in 3rd tonight, and I'll tell you had to work for it. Not only does he have a broken foot, but you really had to come from about mid-pack.
Yeah, I didn't get the best of starts, and I really struggled all day on this track. My head wasn't into it. I was not getting the flow of it. There's a lot of jumps, and I really wasn't comfortable. I wasn't feeling 100% coming into it. My foot's still really bugging me, but for the main, I just got pumped up, took some of my Hammer Nutrition, and it kind of got me going. And in the hot lap, I got a lot of confidence going again. And I didn't get the best start on the main event, but pulled through and just battled the whole time and made no mistakes. That was key, and I pushed 110% all the time, and just feels awesome to be up here considering how I felt all the rest of the day.
Never surrender. That is a huge key because other people are going to make mistakes. And you heard it from Cody there that he handled it. As we take a look, Johnny, this is the Monster Energy crash of the race.
Yeah, this is when Alonso was in the LCQ and he came off a little hot off that log into the wood chop.
Here's another look at it. Just doesn't get the planted feeling he needs when he lands this big air. Watch the front tire come down and wash one of the logs out. And he hits the deck, loses the position, and eventually did not make the main event. Tough night for Jamie Lanza, but a great effort by him nonetheless. Unfortunately, he is the Monster Energy crash of the evening, and now let's get it down and hear from our winner.
Tadej Blazusiak back up on top, made the switch back to the 250. How sketchy. Did you know Brownie was right behind you coming through that rock garden? You guys almost came together.
Yeah, actually I knew that, I knew that he was there, so I knew he was on the inside, so yeah, I could pretty much control it. I know he got a little bit out of control, so that helped me out. But still, after that, I had a steady race, picking some good lines, and like I said, at the end of the moto, the track got a little bit, slick, so it was hard to choose lines, so I was just protecting the inside lines, staying up front, and yeah, here we are again. It's really cool to be back, on top, and I hope I can, carry that momentum in the next round.
Bottom line, you got a lot of momentum going. You won the final round at X Games, and you win here. As we go back to the championship chase, you got to be feeling good as we get ready for the next round.
Yeah, for sure. I feel confident. Like I said, the bike is great. And the team done an incredible job on the bike, and I feel confident. And I think I'm still building up my confidence. So can't wait for the next race, and I'll keep on doing what I'm doing, and hope it's gonna work.
Well, you definitely gotta think that what he's doing is going to work. Mike Brown still leading the points by 7 over Tadej Blazusiak. And speaking of Mike Brown, let's get it down to Terry and hear from him.
Mike Brown got a monstrous hole shot. Tell us about that.
It worked out good on the start. Got a good start there. Got through the rocks clean. Got a few good laps and had a pretty good lead there. And got a little bit tight. Tadej caught up to me. I was still feeling okay. And then just got on a lap rider on the back of the rocks there. And I got on the outside. Tadej was on the inside. And it didn't work out for me. But I felt good. And like the last 2 laps, I felt strong again. My arms kind of loosened up and I was ready to go again.
So you know what? You still got momentum. You're still rocking it. Best season you've ever had. Talk about your momentum going into the next round.
Fired up like I have been all year. I should have had that. Like I kind of rode too cautious in the middle there with my arms a little bit. And the rocks, I should have been a little bit more aggressive, but I got more left.
Mike Brown, always a rider that calls it like he sees it. For more, check us out on Facebook, like us there, and shoot us a tweet if you can. Let's have some fun online. This has been a production of Lucas Oil Studios. For Terry Boyd and 11-time Baja 1000 champion Johnny Campbell, I'm Cameron Steele.